Good morning. Happy Weird Monday. Feels like every day is a little bit weird right now. And that's actually what I want to talk about today, is the way that we're feeling. So why don't we sit down with our teacups and start off my favorite way by feeling the warmth of the teacup in your hands. As usual, I just took Elsie out, and my fingers are very cold. It's gonna snow today, and so I'm feeling the temperature of my fingers shift, and the underside of my fingers that's touching the cup is feeling warm, and the top side of my fingers is still cold. And feeling that shift and that transition. And I feel that in other parts of my body too. As I settle into where I'm sitting, as my posture shifts a little bit to be more comfortable. I like to hug my teacup and raise up my shoulders, but that also creates tension, and the longer that I sit and focus on my fingers, I notice that my shoulders start to inch back down. Right now I'm feeling very anxious to have a sip of my tea because I'm thirsty, but I'm gonna let that wait for a minute. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just gonna take some deep breaths and smell my tea. Smell the flavors of the herbs all mixed together as smells in my nose. I'm gonna feel the warm steam into my nose and down my throat. I want to see if I can still feel it as it moves into my lungs. When you have a sip, you can see how it feels in your mouth, how it's warm. Oh, maybe a little too warm, maybe just right. Maybe you're having cold marshmallow infusion and it's cool on your tongue. Think about how it feels. Feel how it feels. And now let's think about some other feelings, because things are weird. You might be home with other people in a small space, people who maybe you love, but you're not accustomed to spending quite this much time with. And you might be feeling annoyed sometimes. You might be feeling cabin fever. You might be feeling frustrated. Probably you're feeling a little nervous about what's going to happen. These are all fine things. But not every feeling requires action. This has been a hard lesson for me to learn. I remember people would say, well, count to 10 before you say anything when you're angry. And that does not work for me. 10 isn't long enough. I have a little bit of a temper. I need more than 10. And right now, when you're feeling frustrated at the people sharing your space, frustrated that you can't get what you want, or maybe what you need, frustrated at so many things, those feelings can grab a hold of us and run away with us, especially right now, because they're everywhere. They're big. And counting to 10 might not be enough to get control over it again. And that's where the teacup comes in. Because feelings, they're just feelings. You can replace them with other feelings. And so every time that you sit down with a cup of tea, and every time that you start off feeling the warmth on your fingers, you know how to do it by now. Feeling the weight of the cup in your hand. Feeling the smoothness of the cup or the ridges or whatever texture there might be. Feeling the smell and the warmth as you breathe it in. You can take another deep breath right now and feel it. Feeling the flavors on your tongue, the warmth in your mouth and down into your belly. This is long enough for me to shift how I'm feeling. Really focusing on this tea. You might have to do this a bunch of times a day because your feelings might get really big and they might be hard to manage. And it might take 10 cups of tea a day to hold yourself in a place that is kind to yourself. When you're kind to yourself, it's so much easier to be kind to the people around you. But that's all right. 10 cups of tea sounds perfect right now. That's perfect. It's so important to stay hydrated. And if you're feeling lots of feelings and you have to sit and have a teacup meditation 10 times, you're going to be hydrated. That's fantastic. So be with your teacup. Breathe in and out slowly. Think about how it feels. Just focus on the feelings of your tea in your body. And by doing that, it's like clearing out the feelings that were trying to grab a hold of you. Maybe trying to infect your brain a little bit. Sometimes we have to act on our feelings. But if you sit down and have a cup of tea first, and you still decide after that you need to act on your feelings, your actions will probably be more thought out, more effective. But sometimes we don't really need to act on our feelings. They're just feelings. And so we can feel so much gratitude for our tea to help us rein them in a little bit. Just let them go. Elderflower is one of my favorites for helping with this. Yarrow can be helpful. Even chamomile. Oh, catnip. So whatever tea you're drinking right now, for the rest of the cup, just sit quietly. Focus on how it feels to be drinking this tea. Everything else that you're feeling, that can wait. You can come back to that later. Right now, allow yourself to be not overwhelmed, but saturated with the feelings of your tea. Thanks so much for meditating with me today. Don't forget to have some deep breaths. Have lots of tea today, and I'll see you tomorrow.